Hey Canucks fans, I'm Clay Emo. I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter. I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. And this is my Canucks take on One Take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Friday, April the 17th. Excited to continue my Zoom chat series. This time it's not a professional PA announcer or a broadcaster or play-by-play man, but this guy's awesome. It is Yentz. And Yentz is my Canucks season ticket member buddy. Now, he's not my season ticket partner. That's Mike. Mike and I have been good friends from church for 20 years now. But Yentz is my new best bud from 2 years. He's been a season ticket member for 2 years. And for both of those seasons, last season and this season, Mike and I sit in seats 1 and 2. Yentz has seats 3 and 4. So I get to see him maybe once or twice a month. And the guy knows his stuff. He's very knowledgeable. He's very passionate. He's very well spoken. And he's a lot of fun, which you'll see from this interview. So we talk about intermission reflections, a kind of quick vlog that I do at the games when we are together. We talk about some of the good things, the great things about sitting in our section, some of the not so great things. And we talk about our interactions with one crazy P, which is probably the funniest part of this interview. So I hope you enjoy it. It's again Yentz. He's my season ticket buddy. And we share some of our experiences from watching the Canucks live. Hope you enjoy. All right, this is the one I've been waiting for. Yes, I've been blessed to talk to Brendan Batchelor, Jeff Patterson, Al Murdoch, but tonight is the one and only, the incomparable Yentz.
Yentz, the comparable, not incomparable, the comparable. I'm comparable to these other guys, I guess. Yeah, I'm doing well, Clay. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I miss seeing you. We should be at a playoff game tonight or something.
I know it's really quite sad. I miss seeing you as well. It's been really great to get to know you over the last couple of years. So it's been,
ditto. So for those of you out there, I kind of talked about this in my intro, but you guys know that anytime I go to a game and Yentz is at the game, I'm in seats 1 and 2. Yentz is in seats 3 and 4. We don't take 2 seats each, but like I have a pair. Yentz has a pair. And you may have seen, we do these intermission reflections when we're at the game. And I'll talk about it in a second, but really I've gotten to know Yentz quite well over the past couple of years, despite me butchering not only the pronunciation and the spelling of his name. So I think that's where we need to start.
Okay, yeah.
How do you actually say your name and how do you spell it?
So my name is said Yentz, and it's spelled just like it sounds, Jens.
Yeah,
so.
That's exactly how it sounds. Yeah. Okay, so we've heard he is Jens, Yentz. I call him Yentz, and I call him Yentz, and that's just kind of my thing now.
I mean, I think that's about as close as most people get. So, Starbucks, I have seen, so many different things. My favorite was once I was ordering a coffee and I said, yeah, for Yentz. And they looked at me and said, Lance. I said, sure.
And you are, that name, your family is from?
Denmark.
Jannik Hansen.
That's right. Jannik Hansen.
Just like he's not Janik, he's Jannik.
That's right.
You're not Jens, you're Yentz.
That's right. So yeah, Jannik actually grew up and is from the same town many of my cousins in Denmark still live in. So in 2011, it was pretty cool. I was visiting Denmark during the Cup run. I watched games 6 and 7, sadly, in Denmark staying up till very, very early in the morning. But the newspapers and everyone was doing a lot of probably more coverage than they've ever done of the NHL because of Jannik Hansen. So it was really cool.
Well, so, okay, actually, I want to get to that in a second. And when you're not at Canucks games, what do you do professionally, Yentz?
I am the director of a boarding school, the vice principal of an international boarding school.
Awesome.
So here in North Vancouver. So my family and I actually live at the school. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. And I guess that was a couple of things that we have in common. My wife, Gail, is a teacher. So whenever she's at the game, you and her can talk about education stuff. And I just get lost within 5 seconds. And I know you've coached, you've taught with at least someone I know from my church ministry, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
How long have you been a Canucks fan?
I have been a Canucks fan since I was 3 years old.
So that'd be what, 1940 or what? No, like I'm older than you. Yeah. I know that song.
Yeah, 1987, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're born in 84.
That's right.
Same as my season ticket partner, Mike, born in 84.
That's right. Him and I have spoken about that. That's right.
Oh, that's cool. So those of you that follow me, you know that I split my tickets with a good friend of mine from church named Mike. So we are in seats 1 and 2, and Yentz and whoever he decides to bring, whether it's his lovely wife or a friend, seats 3 and 4. But we'll talk about our seats in a few minutes. So you've been a fan since 1987. So do you remember the 94 Cup run?
I do. Yep. I remember watching Game 7 with my stepdad, and just being being quite sad when they lost. I remember snippets of the game. I remember how close it was. I'm pretty sure Pavel Bure had a penalty shot in that game that got saved. I remember being gutted. I thought for sure, that was it. Pavel Bure is going to save the day, and it didn't happen. So yeah. I remember Game 7 the most out of the run.
Yep.
I also remember when we won the series against Toronto, and the crowd. I wasn't there, of course, watching it from home, and the crowd singing "Na na na na, hey hey hey, goodbye," which I thought was pretty hilarious as a 10-year-old. So, yeah, I remember that very well.
That's pretty cool. And then, how long have you been a season ticket member?
This year, whatever it is my second year as a season ticket member.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, only my second year.
So I've been blessed to know you for as long as you've been a season ticket member.
That's right.
Wow. That's pretty cool. So tell people out there, not everyone gets to go to a game. And I know we've talked about how we feel very blessed that we are able to afford to go to games, to bring people, to give away tickets if we need to, or to sell them, whatever we decide to do. But we have gotten to know each other, for a couple of years now. You tell people what's good and what's bad about our seats in section 319.
The good, I think, is the view. I mean, it's an amazing place to watch the play develop. So I think the view as well. It's in the offensive zone twice, where the Canucks shoot twice, so that's really great. And the view of the net from that vantage point is pretty excellent. I think that the people I sit next to are pretty great. To be honest, that's actually a big perk. I've had seasons tickets with different organizations in the past where I've actually had to move my seats because the community around me wasn't good. And really brought the experience down.
Well, I do tell Mike to smarten up when he's with you, so just make sure.
Mike's also great. So, I would say that the cons probably is at times the view, in the opposing end. Sometimes it can be hard to see if it's a goal or not, just with like the way you're kind of straight on it. And so the goalie sometimes, as he's supposed to do, blocks the net, but it blocks the view for us. So that could be the con sometimes when the play is down on the other end, but it's a very small, tiny con. And to be honest, I've shared this with you. I think it actually is probably from the different places I've sat, it's probably my favorite place to sit. I think, I've sat in the lower bowl. I've sat, different places around the arena in terms of where I've sat in the arena. I think the vantage point is pretty excellent. I've given, the Canucks are a really great organization to be season ticket members and they give a lot of great, incentives and perks, and including seats in the lower bowl sometimes. And I've actually given up my seats in the lower bowl to friends so I can stay in my seats because I just love them so much.
That's well said. And for anyone, if you're watching on TV, basically when you're watching TV, you're looking at the benches. So if you basically, on the right side is the Canucks bench, on the left side is the opposing bench. If you basically follow the opposing bench left and up, that's where we are. So we're exactly right. We're over the opposing goalie's left shoulder for the first and third periods. And we're right above one of the handicap sessions. And if you're in the game and you see them cranking the goal horn, or cranking the wind-up horn to start the game, that's actually our section.
Yeah, it's really cool to have that vantage point because you get to see players up close, like alumni players that get to go there, and sometimes nearly Neil sings from there, so that's pretty sweet. It's a real big
Crazy
perk.
P also comes to see us, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, what do you think, Clay? Like, what do you like sitting about in that section?
Yeah, I think actually I was going to get to. I think actually for your bang for your buck, we're probably in the most advantageous or beneficial price point. Because you go across the aisle from our seats, it goes up. You go two more rows down, price goes up. So I think for the price that we pay, a lot of people really complain, especially because Canucks haven't played well in the past 5 years, that the ticket prices are always too high compared to how much entertainment you get. But I would dare say for what we pay and what we get, especially this 50th season, which we'll get to, I think the value is quite good. Then it's easy to, it doesn't kill us if we give them away because we're not paying an arm and a leg for each pair, nor when we sell, it's easy to sell because we don't have to charge a lot actually just to make our money back.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I chose those seats for that reason.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was talking to the rep, I said, I want seats in section 319, whatever. And he tried to sell me across the aisle. And I said, no, man, back it up. And he said,
of course he tried to sell you across the aisle.
Of course. And I said, no, back it up. And he actually said, oh, I see what you're doing there. Right. So,
right.
So yeah, it's it was I think it is 100% such a good deal for where we sit.
Yeah, and you're right about the vantage point, Yentz, because You don't have to be the most brilliant at hockey, but if you are into seeing the line changes and seeing the plays develop out of your own end and gaining the line and stuff, it is a wonderful way where you can see the breakouts happening and you can see all the neutral zone stuff. And I know we kind of help each other sometimes because we're gabbing or we can't see something, and it's very easy to say, "Hey, man, what just happened here?" And then usually one of us gets it right. Usually,
it's usually you, but that's all right.
So what's one thing, if for someone who's been a season ticket member the last two seasons, what's one thing that surprised you about being there? Like, I'm surprised that it's this blank, or I'm surprised that it's so hard to do this. Like, what's actually surprised you about being a season ticket member?
To be honest, nothing. It's pretty much everything I thought it would be and more.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that would surprise me is actually how well the Canucks organization treats their full season ticket members.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that, and I think like the perks that they give is pretty outstanding. And I know that hasn't always been the case, and I know that the Canucks have had criticism of that from their season ticket members in the past. But since I've been a member, they've gone above and beyond, and the care they actually show for their members. Like, I got a phone call from my rep last week just checking in on me.
Wow.
Like, hey man, how's it going? Is your family okay? Is everything good? Right? Not even playing, and they're still checking in. So, and I think as an organization, I think that speaks volumes. And it really makes you feel a part of the Canucks family, despite, yes, you're paying them all sorts of money and for these perks, right? But they don't have to do them. It's literally the perks that they give are icing on the cake. It's not why I'm a season ticket holder member, but it's something that I recommend to people, which is not something I thought prior to becoming one, that I'd be like, no, it's a great deal. You should do it. They're so good.
Yeah.
I did it because I wanted to go watch hockey games, and I'm passionate about the game and love watching the Canucks. But it's been much more than that, which I guess that's been the surprise.
Good. And you've had season tickets for the Whitecaps, you told me, right?
That's right. Yes.
Lions too, or just the Whitecaps?
The Lions as well at one point. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you've been making the rounds, and that's in the Vancouver sports teams.
Yeah. My dad has seasons tickets for the Seahawks also. So I have that night. So I've had a lot of different exposure to different franchises and the way they treat their season ticket holder members, from what the Canucks do to what the Whitecaps do, the Lions, and even the Seahawks. And honestly, I think the Canucks get a gold star in the way they treat their members. Cool. It's far and above.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about our in-game experience then. My first question is, what's it like to sit next to a legend?
it's I mean, it's the guy, as the CBC so rightfully said, it's the guy that every Canucks fan wants to sit next to. And I think it's actually true. It does, I'm always excited when Clay's at the game. It does actually enhance the experience for me. And, I check in with him, like, are you going to be there tonight, man? And when he says no, I'm actually a bit sad. He does the same with me, but when he says no, I'm a bit sad. Because I enjoy sitting next to him. I sit next to you. That's wonderful.
I appreciate that. And all joking aside, many of you guys have seen that CBC interview in January. The way they framed the story is as being a Canucks fan through the good and the bad. And yes, the headline on the CBC website at least was, "This is the super fan you want to sit next to at a game." And Yentz basically tested me and said, "Are you sure they're talking about you?" Or like, which is kind of funny. Yeah.
I didn't see the article, and I got a text from my cousin who I bring to games sometimes, and she just said, "This is hilarious because it's actually you." Right? The CBC wrote a headline that's literally me. Yes, which I thought was pretty hilarious. So.
That's funny. So let's talk about that. How do you decide who you bring to a game on a given night?
I sort of go through a list of people that I know, and people that I want to take to games, and friends of mine and family. And I have twin boys who are 5, so it's tough for them sometimes. Like, the late nights are tough for them. If they were up to going to games every night, I mean, the easy choice, of course, would be my kids are my wife.
Yes.
But that's not always possible because they are young, and my wife's a stay-at-home mom, and babysitting is not always easy to come by, right? So, that would be the number one choice. But other people, it's just a friend that I know that likes a team. I sort of give at the beginning of the season. I literally, when the schedule is released, I print it out and I go through and I send lists of games to my really good friends and say, "What do you want to come to?"
Oh, that's awesome.
And they say, "Oh, I want to come to this game," and so I pencil them in. or I have one of my best friends. I took him to see many years ago, see the Canucks play the Sharks in the preseason. And so for me, it's really special to take him to a Sharks game because, we share that memory. So there's things like that as well. My brother is a massive Oilers fan. And so, he gets first dibs on all the Oilers tickets.
Right.
My family, my sister really wanted to go to the Boston game this year. So she got dibs on those, which was awesome. Right. So she got dibs on those tickets. That's my friends that I know, like certain teams, so I literally have said, what do you want to see? And I decide that way. And others is just like, I know someone that would like to come to a game, so I just invite them, and they don't really care what they're coming to see because they might not be huge hockey fans or whatever.
Right. No, that's pretty cool because I joke around about this, but usually it's either my wife Gail or my eldest son Sean, right? Because love Kayla, our youngest daughter, but not really interested in Canucks. We all know that Jacob has no clue what's going on, even though he's very fun. But yeah, and the conversation was always the same. Sean would say, "Oh, Mom doesn't even know who we're playing, or she doesn't know anything about our team." And then Gail would say to Sean, "Who cooks for you? Who cleans for you? And who lets you stay in their house?" And then Sean will go, "Actually, you're right, Mom. You can go to the game." But no, I'll bring Sean 3 or 4 times, or I'll give him to him and his girlfriend Fernanda, or I'll bring Gail. But I guess it's really funny because one thing that I love sitting next to you as well is because once we get to the game, we figure out who's who, introduction, or nice to see you again, blah blah blah. And then I can hear, you having your little side conversations, and you can hear me, and when I'm bringing someone who's never been to a game before, because I turn into not a know-it-all guy, but kind of, you can tell when I'm starting to explain icing or offside to someone, I think you know what's going on, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and you help me out too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's all, and it's cool when you're able to bring someone that's never been to a game before and have that experience, right? It's cool that I think at this point, I mean, you've been a season ticket holder member for a lot longer than I have been, but at this point there is a resurgence and interest in the team. Yep. That hopefully continues beyond this this pause.
Yes. What do you, one thing that Al talked about yesterday is he talked about how, of course, he's got a unique perspective as the PA announcer. He's there and part of the game production and presentation, but he's really proud of what the Canucks have done this year in particular as their 50th season in all of their game presentation, opening zombie video to all the parody songs to the special effects and commercials and whatever it is, a contest. What did you think of the game presentation this season?
I think it's really been pretty good.
Yeah.
I do miss one thing I actually missed from last year is the host dancing. I thought that was pretty fun. I mean, I know for us that were at more games, it's the same thing over and over, but I actually really missed that. Yeah. I don't know how the hosts feel about it, but I missed that. But I think the funniest moment I think I've ever at a Canucks game so far has been, and I think the highlight in presentation, there's been a lot of really cool moments, but the highlight presentation was they showed a video from the film 300. I think they only did it once. They showed a video from the film 300, and they had Leonidas at the scene where he kicks the dude into the hole, and he goes, "This is," and in a nerdy voice, someone says, "Vancouver," and then he kicks the dude into the hole, like with the logo of the other team, and then the crowd went. I thought it was the best, most funniest thing I think the Canucks did this year, and they've done lots of cool things like that. My other highlight is when they're going to Toronto for a review of something, and they have that montage of scenes people looking at the computer from CSI and Star Trek and all these, like, that's awesome. Like, I think the humor they've injected into the games this year is a lot higher. And then of course all of the retrospective stuff they've done. Yeah. And the way they've changed it throughout the year, like they've done the zombie video changed, for example. Yeah. They've changed sometimes the on ice thing, the history presentation they do depending on what's going on. So that's been really neat, not to see a static product all year. Yeah. Like they have done in years past, but to change it as things have gone on. And I'm really glad they're not doing the Viking clap anymore. I was done with the old Viking clap. And so, I never thought it fit in Vancouver, and it didn't make any sense at all for a lumberjack to lead a Viking clap. So I'm glad that's only that happened once this year when the Sedins got inducted, which I thought, or when they got retired, which I thought was a good time. But beyond that, I'm glad that's done.
That's a really good point actually about the Canucks having more fun, because I think there's been this perception, or maybe it's true, that the Canucks almost didn't have fun, took themselves too seriously when it came to game presentation. And I think we've seen over the past couple of years, especially this season, they're not afraid to take a bit more risks, not afraid to poke fun at themselves, poke fun at the opposition, right? The lost fan in the wrong jersey, things like that. But one thing I want to get to, because so many of you out there, Yentz is way too humble to say this, but Yentz is an outstanding singer, right? He has a background in music, and we joke around. It's funny actually that this is our first video together. We've been joking around about somehow doing a parody song together, and that will happen. That will happen. But you are always belting out the tunes when it's Summer of '69 or when it's nearly Neil or whatever that guy's name is. I love hearing you sing and just belt it. You have no problem sharing your voice. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my as Clay mentioned, my background's music. I have a degree in singing from UBC, right, as a vocal major. So, for me to sing loudly at a game or whatever is not something, especially if it's Summer '69. I mean, that's one of my favorite songs. And I can actually sing all those notes, so it's pretty easy. The joke when they used to do Journey, Don't Stop Believin' last year, like it was because the part they'd always cut out the song at Lonely World, but that's like the highest part of the song. So just a small town girl living in a lonely world. As the crowd does that, because they can't sing it loudly. So that always made me laugh. But yeah, I mean, to sing out loud and proud is part of the fun of going to a game, right?
Yes.
And I think those bring community. Those are part of the moments where the crowd all gets into it. And I think it builds that atmosphere in the arena. And even if the team isn't doing well on a given night, because they usually do the sing along in the third period, people are still singing in the third period.
So speaking of bringing the crowd together, I want to let you lead this part. Let's talk about Crazy P, because you were
Crazy P. Oh yeah, how you doing tonight, brother? Oh, you having a good time?
So Crazy P, I'm glad you joined us today. Tell us why you're at Canucks games now, given that we knew you from the Lions. Tell me why, Crazy P.
I've been trying to get across the street for so many years, and finally they called me up to the big game. It's been so much fun. Go, Canucks, go!
No, crazy. I had one question for you. There was a time where you came up to our section and you sat with me and Yentz, basically right in the aisle next to us. And then we scored a goal. And we were all happy. And then, usually a chant would sound like one more goal or go Canucks go, right? Something with a cadence, Crazy P, something that you can repeat with rhythm. What was the thing that you tried to teach us?
I never did this before. I thought this was the section that could do it. I said, we got to do this. I've never taught this before. And so I looked at the opposing net. It was the second period. So down, the Canucks were shooting down at the other end. And I looked at the opposing net and I said to everyone, another one, another one, another one, another one. And I just really want another one. One more goal. We didn't score.
Oh, okay. We'll go back to Yentz now. Okay, that was the best story because that was all true. We just scored. The crowd was nuts. They wanted to chant something. I don't think the Lars Shatters were there that game. So 319, we were going to lead the Calvary. And he picked the hardest chant to say that we couldn't say in unison. And even if you said the words nicely, they don't sound good. It's exactly what you sounded like. What was your reaction to another one?
Hilarity. I laughed pretty hard as I yelled another one. I mean, the best part is when we scored the goal, we were chanting. Like he did this chant with his drum where he was going, go Canucks, go. And everyone started quiet, go Canucks, go. And we were building it. And then we scored. So it's a great chant. And then he's like, all right, I got it better right. And then
did he say he's never done this before?
He did say that. He said it was something he wanted to try, never tried before. And so he went into there. And so I remember Clay and I looking at each other and laughing really hard.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I know we're giving Crazy P and maybe probably being unfair to him. To be fair, that was the game that Clay and I did some inter-period commentary.
Yeah.
And I came up with a score that couldn't exist.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah.
So, and everybody has an off night.
No, actually, in all seriousness, Crazy P, we love you. If you end up watching that, I'm not sure if you will, but we do love the energy. You're a big reason why there's so much fun in the crowd at the game. But we just thought that was hilarious because you were so committed, Crazy P. I don't know why I'm talking to him as if he's watching this, but wasn't he committed though? Like he was so good.
He was so, I mean, he is a committed guy. I mean, and I've been going to Lions games for years. I'm an Eskimo fan.
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, I was born in Edmonton, grew up in Vancouver, but I'm an Eskimos fan because my dad took me to an Eskimos game first, Canucks fan because I went to a Canucks game first. So, that's the way it goes. So I was, Crazy P came into our section one time as the Eskimos scored a touchdown, and I beaked at him a bit because he had just said, "Oh, the Lions are gonna do blah, blah." So I like, "Oh yeah, you like that? That's what." And he came up to me, "You having a good time tonight, brother?" Like he's the nicest guy, and he clearly loves what he does, right? So yeah, I mean, I think his presentation, and we talked about the in-game presentation.
Yep.
I think he definitely has brought an energy
Yeah.
to the thing. I mean, the one thing that if you've been to a Canucks game this year, they've even started playing it on the Oregon, is the whoa, 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 right? And that's happening every game, and people are getting really into it to the point where the Oregon player now plays it during the games. So, Crazy P, you're the hardest working dude at the games, I tell you, and you're around that whole arena all the time, and I think the energy you bring is really great.
I must say, Yentz, your Crazy P is borderline Crazy P with a dash of Hulk Hogan in there, I think.
What are you talking about, bro? Listen here, brother.
So I would love to hear from your perspective. Tell everyone what we try and do with our intermission reflections, and tell them the story of our worst one ever.
So we're trying to just, analyze the game and, bring a bit of analysis and talk about what we've seen and the things. And it's very, very rapid fire and very raw.
It's got to be only 140 seconds. It's got to fit on Twitter. Yep.
It's got to fit on Twitter. And so, it's literally, I come back from my routine, which we'll get into, and Clay goes, "Are you ready?" And I go, "Uh-huh." And we sit next to each other, and he turns it on and then goes, "So what do you think of the game?" And then I have to just,
and I just do this.
And I have to talk. He's like, "All right, well, yeah, this happened, and I thought that was pretty." So, and then Clay asked me the questions, and I end up looking stupid. So anyway, it's good. So one time I'll switch it. So, the worst one ever, it was against, I'm pretty sure it was that Dallas. Yeah, yep. Dallas, another one. And we were, Clay had just asked, "What are the things you're noticing?" So I've, broken down the zone entries and the defensive breakouts.
And in all fairness, Yentz, you're kind of making fun of yourself. No, Yentz knows his stuff, and he has the ability to actually articulate what he's noticed about the game trends when I just turn the camera on and give him like 5 seconds notice. So in all seriousness, the reflections are good, and they actually get 300 or 400 views depending on how well the Canucks are doing. But now I will not interrupt anymore, please.
Yeah, no worries at all. So I was analyzing the game in I think a semi-intelligent way and talking about the break-ins, and I noticed this, and that game in particular, the Canucks were playing rather static, and they were literally lining up at the blue line, waiting for the puck to go in, and then trying to chase it, and they would never they'd never get back there before the defense, and then it would go, and as well that they were being smothered every time they touched the puck. Like Dallas played a really, really smothering game, really fast game. So I said all that, and then Clay said, "What's the prediction for the third period?" And I said, 5-3 Canucks?
Yeah, something like that.
And Clay said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, 5-3 Canucks." And Clay said, "That's impossible." And then we just laughed and it ended because the Dallas Stars were winning 4-2. So,
so unless they got a goal taken away from them
after an intermission, that probably wasn't going to be the score. And at that time, I was, I think that was in November or December. Yeah. So the Canucks had done really well, and I just assumed, they were down by that. Like, I would just assume they were the team that was ahead and that they were going to win. So, that's pretty embarrassing.
I guess the best part of that is it was 2 minutes of pretty good analysis up until that point. And then when I said, what's your prediction for the final score? You said 5-3 Canucks. And I just said, that's impossible. Dallas already has 4 goals. And you actually didn't say anything. You just stood there, and then we just cut it.
We just started laughing. Yeah. You said I said 5-3 Canucks. And you said 5-3 Canucks. And I said, yeah. And you said, that's impossible. And then we looked at the screen and laughed, and then it cut because it was 2 minutes. So
Exactly. So no, I appreciate you having some fun with that. And it's funny. And then we look back at the recording and we see, the people behind us trying to get in or wave or make faces or whatever, but it's all a good time for sure. Tell us, and I'll share mine. What are some things that you have to do when you're at a game? Like, do you have a routine in arena, either before or the game or during intermissions? Are there certain things that you have to do, people to see, whatever it may be?
Yeah, not so much. Yeah, I mean, I try to arrive at the arena half an hour before the game. That seems to be the time I'm either meeting people or bringing my kids. Yeah. getting there. Unless I bring my kids, then we try to go down to the glass and take in warm up and get a puck or whatever, which has been had some cool experiences with that.
Yeah.
But if I'm not there with my kids, try to get there half an hour before. I get a beer, I go to the bathroom, I go to my seats, and then intermission looks very similar. I use the bathroom.
You were like one of the first ones out. Like
go so I can hit the bathroom, get some beer, go back to my seat, and then the next intermission.
We film our thing.
We film our thing.
Yeah.
And then in the second intermission, it's worse because I've again gone to the bathroom, got some beer, and come back to my seat. So they probably lose quality as the night goes on. But if I'm there with my kids, it's getting the souvenir cup and popcorn and treat for them, and then refilling that souvenir cup in the intermissions, as well as using the washroom because same thing. But we talked about what's awesome about our seats.
Yeah,
we're actually in a really awesome location. The bathroom's right there. There's the food and beer stands are right there or really close by that never really have a lineup. So
yeah,
it's actually, and if you time it right, you don't wait in lines.
That's actually a really good point, because my routine is similar, just at different timing. I'll get there a little later because whenever I get to my seats, you're already there. So I'll get there by about 6:45. I'll make sure I get my carb sandwich and my Pepsi. Get to my seats, everything's fine. Then what I will do is maybe my bladder is I can't control it as well as you do. I actually can't make it to the intermission. So I'll wait until the third and final TV timeout of the period. And exactly what Yentz said, we are in a place where the washroom's only 2 sections over. So in 2.5 minutes, I can easily get down to the concourse, into the washroom, do my thing, come back, wash my hands, come back. And then I'm sitting there even before the puck drops. So I will do that at the end of each of the first and second periods, because I like to spend my intermissions actually just walking around the concourse once in a while. Sometimes I'll meet people, or I'll meet a couple people that watch the vlog, which we're grateful for. But then I'll get back, make sure also for the last 2 or 3 minutes. So then we can do our intermission reflection. It's funny, Yentz, actually, in a good way, you actually help determine my routine, because if you are not at the game, or if I'm sitting somewhere else, then I don't do these intermission reflections, because that's a me and you thing. And I'll spend the whole time in the concourse of the intermission. But when you're there, I either stay or I'll make sure that I'm back so we can deliver the goods to the people.
Well, it's what they expect. I mean, you have to deliver those goods. So
yes. So let's before we get to the 6-pack to close, I want to ask you a couple of things about your impressions of just this season overall. Let's start with not the negative, but the reason why we're not watching playoff games is did you have a sense that when the NBA can't shut down the night before, did you have a sense that it was only a matter of time before the NHL would do the same?
Yes, I thought I call it the hour the world changed. I was at a meeting at my boarding school. Obviously, we've got students from around the world, and we were in a meeting talking about COVID and sort of our response as a school and what our plans were. And within that meeting happening, it was between 5 and 6. Within that meeting happening, the U.S. had stopped travel from the U.K. The NBA was canceled, and we found out Tom Hanks had coronavirus. Right?
That was all
the three, all on the same night. It was
Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday night. It was like the three watershed moments where it kind of hit home. Right, the night before, I was at the Islanders game with my son Zach.
Yes.
Right, 6 years. My 5-year-old son. At the Islanders game, out and about. The next night, it's like, oh man. And then the NHL, after the NBA stopped, Rudy Gobert came out. He was positive, and they stopped and said the season was going to be suspended. The NHL put out a statement pretty soon after saying, we'll have a statement by tomorrow. And as soon as they said that, of course, I knew. I mean, it would have been very irresponsible of them to not do so.
Right. Right. And it's interesting because to tie this into the Canucks, you know these stats too. If by points they were in 9th, by points percentage they were actually 3rd in Pacific in the 7th. If you roll back to 68 games, they're in a playoff spot, wild card, but regardless, they're in the playoffs. So it's tough for us to say, yeah, they're going to come back, they're not going to come back. But do you think that the Canucks could have done any damage in the playoffs this season?
Yes, I think a healthy Markstrom. I think that, the way that Markstrom was playing, the Canucks put out the top 10 plays so far this year on their YouTube account. And I think it should have just been called the top 10 Markstrom, Demko, and Pettersson plays. That's all they showed, right? But Markstrom was playing as mine. Demko was playing very well, right? Their goaltending was outstanding. So you have a hot goaltender, and if it comes back, a healthy goaltender at this point, Markstrom would have been back. Markstrom would have been healthy. The way the Canucks the way they can play, if they play their game, they put up goals like crazy. Like the amount of 9-3 against Boston, the amount of times they scored 5 or more goals at home this year, like it's just insanity, right? So when they're on their game, they can score. They can play well defensively. They don't always, but they can play well defensively. And I think that would surprise teams. I think teams have learned to, maybe not surprise them, but teams have learned to respect them. And I think that they have a lot of fight in them. You've seen that this year. They don't, past years Canucks teams tend to not like in the last 2 years, the culture that's been built under Travis Green, I think is one of fight and not necessarily to give up. Yes, sometimes they do, but the general trend is to try hard and to play a full game. So I think that's all really, really exciting. When the Canucks were playing their best hockey, they were one of the best teams in the league. And I don't think that's me overstating it. I think, for a while there, they were the top 3 in the league. They did have a fall off, of course, but I think that they have the potential to take on any team. Yeah. They've beat the Capitals this year. They beat Boston by a huge score. They've beat Colorado. They've beat all the top teams, and they can compete with them. So, me and one of my friends, Kieran, who comes to the games, like he was talking about, I want to buy, your playoff seat, because like the other one, like I want to buy that other seat from you because I think they have a chance this year. Like, wow. I think, no, are they going to win the Stanley Cup? Probably not. Like, let's, be real, but do they have a chance could they go in and surprise a bunch of teams and push pretty far? I think they do. And I think they have, at this point, the high level talent to go that extra mile if they needed to. If all the team is firing and on all cylinders, they're a dangerous team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. It's funny you mentioned that about the top 10 plays, because Sean and I were watching them and we basically said, as good as this makes Markstrom and Demko look, it kind of makes our defense look really bad in some places.
Yeah, I mean, there have been, some errors, but there's been some really strong defensive play.
Yeah. What was the most memorable game for you in the arena this year?
This year?
Yeah.
There were so many really great games to be at this year.
Yeah.
From the Sedin's game to the opener where they won, they beat up on the Kings 6-4. I think the ones that stand out in my mind, the Sedin's game, of course, they didn't play super well, but they won, so that was always good. They beat the Blackhawks.
Markstrom played well.
Markstrom again did his thing. Yeah. The 9-3 victory over Boston was super, super fun to be at. I took my sister and she said, they don't usually score this many goals, do they? And I said, I don't believe so. I've never seen it this many goals before. They've scored a lot this year. I think 7 on one occasion. I think 8 on the other home. But 9, no. And you look back, last time they did it, Alexander McGillney scored a hat trick in 1996 or whatever it was.
Wow.
So, right? Like there's been some pretty special moments. I think the most fun, the games that stick out are, there was that game against St. Louis where they won in overtime, I think. Yeah, that was a really exciting game to be at. I thought it was a really hard fought hockey game. The season opener against LA at home, the arena was buzzing. The Canucks played super, super well. It was just super, super exciting. Yeah. And I think the other one that stands out to me would probably be Boston. I think those are the top 3. It's hard to say. There's been a lot of really fun hockey to be at this year.
No, I agree. The Sedin's game, obviously memorable. I don't go to the Wednesday night game, so I didn't go to the home opener, unfortunately. You know what? One that I liked, maybe it's because they just played on TV a couple weeks ago. I think you were at that game too. It was in December. Is that win against Vegas? It's unfortunately the game that Josh Levo got hurt when he busted his kneecap on the boards there. But I remember that was a pretty entertaining game because we never play Vegas well, especially at home. And I remember a really solid performance on that day. I was jealous. I wasn't at that Tuesday. So Tuesday is my bowling night. Wednesday is my church night. So those are the 2 nights where I usually don't get to games. But I know that last game of the year was a Tuesday night, the Islanders game. And you got to see a healthy top 6. You got to see Brock Besser. And, that's the part that pains me, Yentz, is who knows if we're going to have the money? Who knows if Toffoli wants to even stay? Who knows if 10 games was enough to make an impression on him? But we had a chance to have a solid top 6 between Pettersson, Miller, Toffoli, Horvat, Pearson, and Besser. And I don't know if we're going to get that next season. But at least you got to see that. You got to see Besser's return.
Yeah, it was fun. He wasn't super memorable or anything, but it was really exciting to be there. And I mean, for me, what stands out for me in that game is is they won in a shootout, which doesn't always happen, and which is always really exciting. But I got to share it with my kid. And,
yeah.
You know, I don't, you know, because the games are often late, I don't always get to go. And Zach, I have my two twin boys. They're very different. Zach loves sports and hockey and everything. Mason he goes because he wants to hang out with his dad. But
awesome,
you know, to get to that game stands out to me.
Yeah,
the top six exciting, but I got to spend it with my kid.
That's cool. And then I guess we'd be remiss to not mention that we got to see a full season of Quinn Hughes, and that was sometimes you and I would just look at each other sometimes with our mouth open and a jaw drop, just saying, wow, did he just do that? Or how did he hold the line for that long? Or how did he get the puck out of that corner? He was a joy to watch.
Unbelievable. And the fact that other teams couldn't figure him out. Like he has, like, he does kind of the same, what seems like Pettersson is much more dynamic, where you don't really know what he's going to do or how he's going to get out of that predicament.
Yeah.
Hughes has a few tricks in his bag of tricks that he uses incredibly well. And this is not me diminishing. I know it sounds like I'm diminishing him, it's not at all. He has a few tricks that he utilizes so well that it's not predictable, despite, you know, you see him do the same thing on grab the puck, create space on the line, and then find someone open, right? Like other defense, the dynamic that he brings, despite it seeming like, well, that seems like an obvious thing to do. Other players don't do it, and other teams aren't catching on to it. So like the intelligence that he has and that he can bring to the game, you see the same 3 or 4 things that he does so well that makes him really, I think, really special, because other players don't do those things. Like the quick cut back in the corners, like the edge work that he can do that. It's just unbelievable. And to see him, you know, to see him and see him continue to get better over the years, it's going to be, it's exciting. It's special. I was in Boston at the beginning of December, you know, think about the world changing, and I got to go see Boston and Chicago play, which, you know, I kind of wished both teams lost, but that didn't happen. Went to overtime and saw Boston fans get mad, so it's good. But I went to a restaurant bar and was talking to the bartender there about hockey, and I brought up, you know, most of the time when I brought up the Canucks, you know, he'd say, "Oh, where are you from?" And I said, "Vancouver," and he was like, "Oh, Quinn Hughes, man," and other, you know, Quinn Hughes, man, wow. Where I tried to bring up hockey, like I was at a Bruins game sitting next to a fan talking about hockey, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, Pettersson." And he's like, "Who is that?" Right? Like, you know, they have no idea, but Quinn Hughes people knew about.
Well,
and that,
fascinating.
I think, speaks volumes, right?
Oh, it does. And that's gonna, you know, we'll be talking about both those guys in about a minute or so. So that, are you ready to do the 6-pack rapid fire questions? Yeah. And the rapid fire in that they're short, and I ask everyone these things, but you can be as long or short as you want in your answers. Don't feel like you have to truncate them. Number 1, are you an extrovert or an introvert?
I'm probably more of an introvert than an extrovert. As a teacher, I have extroverted qualities, but I do like my alone time. I mean, it's probably a mix. I think a lot of people are a mix, right? Like, I would say I'm more of an introvert. People that get to know me would probably say I'm more of an extrovert, or people that would see this video because they say, "Oh, this guy's talking," and, you know, it's gone on at length about whatever he's going on about. But I'm actually, you know, a pretty shy person. You know, when I met Clay, the reason him and I got talking is because he introduced himself to me. It wasn't like I went, "Hey man, I'm Yentz and I sit here now." It was a couple games and he looked at me and went, You've been here like 3 games in a row, man. Like, do you have seasons tickets? And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, me too." And then we got to talking, but I wouldn't have put myself out there. Right. So I think, I have that shy tendency. So
look at us now, best buddies now.
There you go. Once I get to know people, I think they would say I'm more of an extrovert, but I certainly have introvert tendencies.
Awesome. Canucks related. Who is going to be more important to our franchise going forward? Elias Pettersson or Quinn Hughes?
Quinn Hughes.
Wow. With much conviction.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, there are a lot more top end forwards in the league than there are a lot more elite defensemen. Quinn Hughes has the ability of a defenseman and a forward. We've seen his speed. We've seen his offensive instinct as well as his defensive ability. I think you can really build around a pillar like that. You can build around Pettersson. I'm wearing a Pettersson jersey. I don't have a Hughes jersey. Yeah. I just think Hughes, what he's done this year, and the minutes he's played and the people he's played against, and he has not looked out of place. Yeah. You know, where Pettersson, there are times where he can be invisible out there. It's not like, you know, other teams shut him down, and that's not, he can take over games as well, but he doesn't have that game-changing ability. I look at Quinn Hughes and I think more of someone like Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews or even like Sidney Crosby, like someone that can take over a game. Quinn Hughes is more of that player, and I think that's really exciting.
Good answer. Netflix or Disney Plus?
Disney Plus. 8,000. I'm a gigantic Disney nerd. I have been to every Disney theme park on this earth.
Wow.
When they were open, and love to go to them and have a great affinity for Disney and Disney's history. So Disney Plus has been amazing.
Awesome. If you had a chance to go out to dinner with one of these three, who are you picking? Travis Green, Jim Benning, or Francesco Aquilini?
Aquilini, because I think the dinner would be amazing. He owns so many great restaurants. He'd probably be a better conversationalist.
You think so?
I think so. I think he's a businessman, and you have to be kind of like charming and gregarious. So I think he would be. It would be easier for me to have dinner with someone who'd be able to like lead the conversation than Travis Green, who I think he's a brilliant coach. I actually have a lot of respect for Travis Green, but I can't imagine having too in-depth of a conversation with him unless I was leading it. And I don't think I'd be very good at that. It would be, you've seen how he interacts and sometimes, right. And his persona and Jim Benning. Well, it's just not my thing.
Manage Jim Benning and Crazy Pete at a dinner table together.
Well, it's a really good time here. And, I see like a lot of potential. Yeah, brother.
Let's order another dessert. Another one.
Another.
All right, two more. Are you an early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Wow. Despite running a school, like I presume you got to get up early when school's in session. You're running that school. I'm sure it's long days.
It is, but I'm in charge of the boarding program, so all my responsibilities happen after school hours. So yes, I do work a mixture of days and nights, but I'm not in bed before 1 most nights. So
wow. Well, another reason why we get along so well, I think. And next Canuck in the Ring of Honor, in your opinion?
Probably Ryan Kessler. I think he'll be the guy that goes up there. I mean, the years that he brought to this team and the accolades he had league wide and the player he is, I think he's had somewhat of a resurgence in this community, right? Since he's not playing anymore and people have affection for him again, especially, I'm sad, of course. I mean, understandable they're not putting on new podcasts, but like that Kessinger's podcast was pretty great. And I think it showed who Ryan Kessler is as a person, which I think opened up a lot of people's eyes to how he can be. And he has a lot of respect for Vancouver. He when he had his hip surgery a couple of years ago, he actually did most of his rehab here in North Van at near my school here. And I ran into him at a cafe, right? Like he has his physical trainers here. His a lot of his life was here. And so yes, he's down in Michigan now, but I think that he has a lot of affinity for this city. And I think he is the kind of person that, can say the wrong thing because of his personality. But I think he was under pressure and said the wrong thing at the time. And I think he'll probably be the next one to go up. It'll be just all that team, right? Like that. Yeah. The X will be next, and then it'll be Kessler, and then it'll be, I don't know, Yannick Hansen. Who knows? It'll just be that whole team. And then
if they get to Victor Oreskovich, though, I think they're going a little too far. But
Dave Babich up in the
but we'll see. Oh, Yentz, this has been awesome. This is 45 minutes, much better than the 2 minutes and 20 seconds we get for intermission reflections. I really want to thank you for sharing just your life, your humor, your wit, and your passion for the team. And it does stink that we don't get to share these moments at the arena, but obviously there's bigger issues going on right now, and it just makes us hungry for the next time that we're watching a game together.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see you again, give you a hug and get to catch up in person.
That sounds good. And then we have to do this again because, Crazy P wants
another one. Yeah. You didn't even get to all the questions. So yeah, we definitely have to.
Yeah, no, we did really good. Yentz, thanks again, man. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure, Clay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Canucks fans, for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. You can tell that Yentz is a very fun guy, and he comes across really well on Zoom through the screen. But imagine sitting next to him for a full 2.5 to 3 hours at a Canucks game. We get along very well, and you can see that we've developed a pretty cool friendship over the past 2 years. So leave a comment below. I love to read, react, and reply to anything that you have to say, reacting to anything that Yentz had to say. about what it's like to be a season ticket member, what he thought about this year's team and this year's the games, and our experiences overall as two loyal Canucks fans sitting in the nosebleeds in section 319. So like I said, leave a comment. I love to read, react, and reply. Subscribe if you'd like to, like this video if you like to. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weekend, and be safe and be healthy. Take care of yourselves and of each other. Have a great day. God bless. Go Canucks, go.